In this video, I'm covering how I installed some much needed drainage for a future stone wall. I'll also be installing an extra pipe so I can run some electrical and water for sprinklers across the driveway. To do the drainage, I bought some 3/4 inch trap rock for the French drains, so you'll also get to see me backfill the stone wall I built last year, and how I finished landscaping the area behind the stone wall. But for right now, we're going to take a step back and see why this was needed, and then we'll dive into how it was done. So stick around and hopefully you'll learn something or find some inspiration for a future project of your own.
Alright, so here we are. It is middle of January and we got some snow melt going on today. And this is why I'm going to be putting in so much drainage later. There is a lot of runoff coming off the front yard there. And it is just running across the driveway. It is slowly going to cause some potholes. And it's making a muddy mess over here.
So cut to a few weeks later, when there is no frost on the ground and after a particularly heavy rain, I've still got the same problem. The water running across the driveway, very muddy turnaround area, and just too much water in general, and certainly a lot more than I would want to build a stone wall on top of. So we're going to take a quick peek at this riprap that I've used as a temporary water control measure, and you can actually see the water like actively running through it. So this is what we're going to try and get a handle on and fix.
So I didn't catch this piece since it was done on short notice, but last night I had some help with doing some test holes, and essentially we were driving rebar into the ground and checking the depth we could drive it. Our general conclusion was we think we're hitting big rocks as opposed to ledge, but we did identify a path where we're 11 inches deep and 9 inches deep and 6 inches deep and 9 inches deep. But we're semi-confident that's a big rock here because we were 6 inches deep right here, but I did excavate that hole by hand and found out there was plenty of room because we were checking lots of other areas and we were a lot shallower, like 4 inches and 3 inches, which is going to be very problematic for running any kind of electrical or drainage under the driveway. But I'm semi-confident from what I remember about the house being built that there's no ledge directly in the middle of the driveway here. And then obviously where the electrical is, I'm gonna have to dig by hand. But it was an easy first step. Might be something you guys consider too if you're gonna plan on doing a large trench, is just test a couple holes. And we just drove rebar in with a sledgehammer.
And one last bit of prep work before the digging begins, and that is laying out and dry fitting all of the pipes, just to make sure I've got enough material and I'm happy with where it's going to run. And I'm happy to say the digging went very well. I had some help come over with a backhoe. I had pre-marked out all of the utilities, so it was easy to void the electrical on both sides of the driveway. I was very fortunate to have help because in the time it took for my help to dig all the way across the driveway to the other side, I had only just hand dug around the electrical. So after doing the digging with the tractor, we did a little bit of handwork on the bottom of the trench to make sure it was flat, and then installed the first leg of the underground pipe, and this was the sleeve for the electrical. To make sure we had the proper pitch, I just taped a wooden block to the end of my level, and that made it really easy to make sure I had the correct pitch for both the electrical and the underground drainage pipe that I was putting in second. For both runs, I used Schedule 40 pipe just to make sure that I didn't have any issues with crushing it. I backfilled around both pipes with a very fine gravel and tamped it in lifts to make sure I didn't have any settling either. I didn't want to have to be dealing with little speed humps in the driveway after the fact. And here we are at the end of the day. I've got one hole on one side of the driveway for my electrical and drainage to go in, and 2 holes on the other for my electrical to pop out and the French drain to end. And here I'm making an end cap for one of those pieces of pipe. So I've got 2 liquid-tight connectors and a hole in the pipe for a sprinkler pipe to run through. So the liquid-tight will connect for running some future electrical, and then the blank hole I'm going to run a water line through and then run some duct steel around to keep anything from working its way into that pipe. This water line I'm going to work under the wall and then up behind it so I can connect 2 sprinkler heads later. And then those 2 liquid-tight pipes I'm going to run to that service mount box on the face of the wall. Here I'm modifying an irrigation box, so it will fit over a 4-inch pipe. This was meant to fit over a much smaller pipe. And what this does is it'll straddle the pipe rather than put pressure on it if someone steps on it or drives over it. This is also going to give me really easy access as I'm going to be running the electrical at a later date. What makes these great is you just turn those green covers about 90 degrees and they pop right off, and then you'll have access to whatever's beneath them. In my case, it's a T-fitting, so I can have better access to both ends of this pipe, and that'll make running additional electrical or accessing a water shutoff I'm putting in a lot easier. And this is one of my favorite parts of any project, is just getting a load of fresh material that I'll get to spread and work with basically all summer long.
All right, so I just finished running the water pipe underground and under the stone wall, and remaking up the liquid-tight connection I had here. So the water pipe pops up right here. I'll have to continue it from there. And then I just laid out a landscape fabric before I backfill this with the 3/4 stone that I got this morning. So liquid-tight is running underground, the post on the end comes down and underneath and runs right up to the back side of the Clinton sign here, and then it continues down here until it runs to this face mounted box. All filled in with the 3/4 inch trap rock, so I just need to fold the landscape fabric down and hold it in place, and then I can put some of my material on the other side of the driveway on top. Just kind of playing a big game of shuffle, move things around the yard, but if you do it in the right order, it's not too bad, and it looks nice at the end.
And here I'm wrapping up the last step before backfilling, and that is connecting these 2 sprinkler heads so this area can self-water. And here I am playing that game of shuffle. I'm saving all of the riprap you saw earlier to use in the stone wall later. And then I'm going to take up all the grass. I'm going to put the grass side down on the bottom, and then I'll put the good loam underneath on top. And that should hopefully keep it from popping through all the flowers later. These had definitely overgrown their pot, and they divided very well. I probably divided them up into about 40 different smaller plants that will probably spread in time and just fill in this side of the driveway very nicely.
So that pretty much wraps up this side. I'm really happy with how well those lilies split up. They should fill in here pretty nicely too. They filled that planter out pretty good before I moved them. And then the mulch is just some wood chips that I made previously. So just trying to repurpose everything around the yard and playing the shuffle game. It's starting to look pretty good, and I will show you guys what this looks like once the flowers pop.
And here are those flowers about 6 weeks later, and as you can see, I misjudged the size of some of them, so they're going to have to get transplanted next year, but that's all right. The lilies are filling in good, and so are some of the other bulbs and the marigolds and the rhododendrons. But if you enjoyed this video, stick around. I'm going to have another one right behind it where I complete the French drain and the electrical work and more from there. So thanks for watching, guys.